I woke up on the canvas, drenched in sweat, blinded by the arena lights. Doctors were shouting, my chest was burning, my heart felt like it was about to explode. Just minutes ago I was still on my feet, still fighting. Now only darkness. Then came the words that shattered my life. They found doping in my blood. Doping. Me. The fighter who never cheated, who refused even the mildest stimulants. Overnight I became a fraud. Headlines screamed, boxing's rising star exposed. Fans spat at my name. Sponsors vanished. My legacy, my career, gone. But deep inside I knew the truth. It wasn't me. Someone poisoned me. Someone slipped something into my water. Someone close. Someone I trusted. Lying in that hospital bed, hearing reporters yelling through the door, "How could you cheat your fans?" I realized two things. First, my old life was over. Second, I would start a new one. Because if I was betrayed, that means there's a traitor. And I'll find him. I'll rip the truth out of him the same way they ripped me out of the ring. And when I do, his ending will be bloodier than any fight I've ever been in. Revenge will be my new championship belt. And this time I won't lose. The investigation was fast, brutal, and one-sided. The Boxing Commission banned me permanently. No appeal, no second chance. To them I was done, a disgraced fighter, nothing more. But the worst part? The silence from the people closest to me. My trainer, Victor, avoided my calls. My so-called friends in the gym disappeared. Even the woman I thought I'd marry one day stopped visiting. Betrayal cut deeper than any punch I'd ever taken. The nights in my apartment became torture. Empty bottles of whiskey lined the counter. Old fight tapes played on repeat, showing the man I used to be. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a ghost, swollen eyes, broken nose, scars that meant nothing now. But ghosts don't rest easy. One night, drunk and furious, I replayed the fight in my head. Every detail. Every second. And then I saw it, the moment before the second round. Victor handed me the bottle. His eyes didn't meet mine. A hesitation so small I'd missed it before. My stomach twisted. It couldn't be. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Victor had everything to gain. He managed other fighters, younger ones, hungry ones. With me gone, he could push his new star to the top. Money, fame, control, it was all there. And yet, another thought gnawed at me. Could it have been someone else? Maybe a rival. Maybe someone from the promotion. Or maybe even one of the fighters I'd beaten bloody in the past. I didn't know. Not yet. But I knew where to start. I went back to the gym. It was late, almost midnight. The place was empty except for the hum of the lights. The smell of sweat and canvas hit me like a memory I wanted to destroy. Victor's office was locked, but locks don't mean much when you've broken bones for a living. A good kick and I was inside. Papers everywhere. Contracts, fight tapes, training schedules. And then, an envelope. Thick, heavy, filled with cash. On the front, one word, Tyson. Tyson was Victor's new fighter. Younger, faster, cleaner. The one he'd been parading around after my fall. The pieces started to connect. Tyson takes my place, Victor takes the glory. But the money meant someone else was paying. Someone wanted me gone. I stuffed the envelope back and left before anyone saw me. But I wasn't careful enough. Looking for something? A voice behind me. Deep cold. I turned, and Tyson was standing there, hands wrapped, sweat dripping from his neck. He looked at me like I was already dead. "You don't belong here anymore," he said. Neither did he, but he was standing tall and I was just a shadow. For a moment, I wanted to break him right there, to slam his head into the lockers until he bled the truth out. But that's not how this game works. Not anymore. Instead, I just smiled. "Tell Victor," I said, "I'm not done." And I walked out. That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound in my apartment felt like footsteps outside. Every shadow looked like someone watching me. If Victor had betrayed me, if Tyson was part of it, then I was in danger too. I wasn't just fighting for revenge anymore, I was fighting to survive. I poured myself a drink, sat down, and started writing names. Victor, Tyson, the promoter, the rival fighters, anyone who had something to gain. I circled the first two. And next to them I wrote one word, payback. The next morning the city felt different. Maybe it was just me. The streets looked colder, the faces harsher. Or maybe I was finally seeing things the way they really were. The world doesn't care about loyalty, about honor, about how hard you train. The world cares about money, about who's on top, and about who can be thrown to the wolves when the time comes. And I had been thrown. Still, I wasn't broken. Not yet. My body hurt, my lungs burned, but there was something stronger inside me now, a fire I had never felt before. It wasn't about winning belts anymore. It was about truth. About revenge. I started with the people I knew best, the old crew from the gym. Guys I'd sparred with for years. People who'd seen me bleed and sweat every single day. If someone had heard something, if someone had seen something, it would be them. The first one I tracked down was Rico, a veteran fighter whose career had ended years before mine began. He was older, slower, but he'd always had sharp eyes. Nothing slipped past Rico. I found him at a small bar downtown, nursing a beer at noon. His face lit up when he saw me, then darkened when he remembered the headlines. "Damn kid," he muttered, shaking his head. "You got screwed bad." "Then you know it wasn't me," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. Rico took a long sip of his beer before answering. "Doesn't matter what I know. Matters what people believe. And right now, they believe you're dirt." "I don't care what people believe," I snapped. "I care about the truth. Someone set me up. You've been around long enough. You see anything?" He hesitated. Looked around the bar like the shadows might be listening. Then he leaned closer. "There was talk, yeah. Before your fight. Word is, some big money was put on you to lose. Not just lose, lose ugly. Collapse. Look like a fraud. That's what the gamblers wanted." My fists tightened on the table. "Who?" Rico shook his head. "Don't know. But it wasn't just random. Someone close had to play along. Someone with access. Victor. Tyson. The promoter." Their names flashed in my mind again. "You didn't hear this from me," Rico added. "I'm too old to be dragged into your war." I left him there, staring into his beer while my own thoughts boiled. Gambling. Of course. My downfall wasn't just personal, it was profitable. Someone had made money off my destruction. Back in my apartment, I dug through old contacts, numbers, people I hadn't spoken to in years. One of them was Marco, a bookie who'd run underground fights when I was just starting out. We hadn't talked since I went pro, but if anyone knew about unusual bets, it would be him. When I called, his voice cracked with laughter. "Look who it is. The fallen champ." "Cut the shit," I growled. "I need information." There was a pause. Then his tone shifted. "You mean about the bets?" "Yeah, I heard. Biggest pile of money I've seen in years went against you. Whole thing smelled rotten." "Who placed it?" "That's the problem. It wasn't one guy. It was spread out. Dozens of little bets, all connected. Someone smart didn't want to be traced. But the middleman, let's just say he's not subtle." "Who?" Marco sighed. "You really want to go down this road, kid? It's not just fists you'll be facing. These people don't play fair." "I don't care." "Fine. Name's Anton Kroll. Eastern European, runs a crew out of the docks. Word is, he's tight with promoters, trainers, even fighters. If money was moving, it went through him." Anton Kroll. I didn't know the name, but it sounded like trouble. And trouble was exactly what I was looking for. That night, I drove to the docks. The air reeked of oil and salt water. Rusted containers stacked like tombstones, shadows moving where no one should be. I walked fast, fists clenched, every step echoing. I found him in a warehouse office lit by a single yellow bulb. A big man, bald, with scars across his knuckles. He didn't look surprised to see me. "So," he said in a thick accent. "The boxer comes crawling back from the grave." "You fixed my fight," I said flatly. He chuckled. "I didn't fix anything. I just made sure the right people profited from your misfortune." "You poisoned me." "No. Not me. I don't touch bottles, only money. But yes, someone slipped something in. Someone close to you. Someone who could reach your corner." "Victor." The word hammered in my skull. "Who paid you?" I demanded. He smiled. "Asking questions is dangerous, my friend. Especially when you already know the answer." Before I could react, two men stepped out of the shadows, big, silent, ready to crush me. My fists curled. Old instincts kicked in. The first came swinging. I ducked, drove a punch into his ribs, felt the air leave his lungs. The second grabbed me from behind, but I smashed my head backward into his nose, heard it crack. Blood splattered. It wasn't a fight. It was survival. And for the first time since the scandal, I felt alive again. When both men lay groaning on the floor, I turned back to Anton. He was smiling. "You still have fire," he said. "Good. You'll need it. Because your real enemy is closer than you think." I slammed my fist on his desk. "Give me a name." He leaned forward, eyes glinting. "Victor," he whispered. "Your own trainer sold you." The drive home was a blur. My chest pounded, my head buzzed. Rage boiled through my veins. Victor, the man who had built me, the man I trusted with my life, was the one who destroyed me. But it wasn't enough to know. I needed proof. I needed him to admit it. And then I'd decide what to do with him. The old me might have hesitated. The old me might have wanted justice. But the man in the mirror now, he didn't care about justice. Only revenge. So I made my plan. The next few days I lived like a ghost. No gym, no crowds, no reporters. Just shadows and silence. My apartment turned into a war room, maps, notes, photos scattered across the walls. Every connection I traced, every name I wrote down circled back to the same one, Victor. But I couldn't just storm into his house and demand the truth. He'd deny it, twist it, make me look crazy. I needed proof, solid, undeniable. So I followed him. Nights were the hardest. Watching the man who once wrapped my hands before every fight now slip into dark meetings with strangers. He'd leave the gym late, take the long road by the river, vanish into an abandoned building. Every time he came out later with envelopes, his face heavy with guilt or greed. I snapped photos from the shadows. Grainy but clear enough, Victor exchanging money with men in suits, men I recognized from Anton's crew. Betrayal was one thing, but betrayal for profit? That was worse. One night, I followed him further than usual. This time he wasn't cautious. Maybe he thought I was too broken to fight back. He drove to a luxury hotel downtown, parked in the underground garage. I slipped in behind him, sticking to the shadows. He took the elevator up and I waited until it returned, then rode one floor below his. From there, I found the stairwell, climbed quietly and cracked the door open. Victor was inside a suite, not alone. Through the crack, I saw him standing with two men. One I knew, a promoter named Garza, a shark who controlled half the city's fights. The other was a stranger, tall, sharp suit, cold eyes. He didn't look like a promoter. He looked like a man who made problems disappear. Their voices carried. "The money's good," Victor was saying. "But he's suspicious. He's sniffing around." Garza cursed. He was supposed to stay down. He was supposed to be finished. The tall man leaned forward. "Then finish him for real. You had no problem poisoning his water. Next time, make sure he doesn't get up." My blood froze. The words were knives. Poisoning his water. There it was. Proof. I slammed the door open. The three of them turned shocked. My fists clenched. "You tried to kill me," I growled. "My own trainer. My own brother in the ring." Victor's face twisted with guilt, then hardened. "Kid, you don't understand. Don't you dare call me kid." I roared. "I trusted you with my life." Garza sneered. "You're finished, boxer. Walk away before you don't walk at all." But I wasn't walking away. Not anymore. The fight erupted in chaos. Garza lunged first, throwing a punch like he thought he was still young. I ducked and drove my fist into his stomach, folding him over. The tall man pulled a gun, too slow. I grabbed his wrist, slammed it against the wall until the weapon clattered. A knee to his ribs dropped him. And then there was Victor. We circled each other, years of history burning between us. He wasn't young, but he was still strong, still sharp. He swung and I blocked. He jabbed and I slipped inside, landing a hook to his jaw. He staggered but didn't fall. "You were like a son to me," he spat, blood in his mouth. "Then why?" I demanded, throwing another punch. "Why sell me out?" His eyes burned with something I hadn't seen before. Envy? Because you had everything. The talent, the fame, the future. And me? Just a forgotten trainer. A shadow. I deserved more. And they offered it. That was it. The truth. No excuses, no lies. Just greed. My fists flew, powered by years of trust shattered in seconds. Each punch cracked bone, spilled blood, ripped the past apart. He stumbled, fell to his knees. "Do it," he whispered. "Finish it." I stood over him, chest heaving, fists trembling. For a moment I wanted nothing more than to crush him, end him right there. But something stopped me, not mercy, not weakness. No, it was strategy. Killing him would end the game too soon. "You don't get to die yet," I said coldly. "You're going to watch everything you built burn. Every deal, every dirty dollar. I'll tear it all apart. And when there's nothing left, you'll beg me for death." I turned, leaving him bleeding on the carpet. By the time I hit the street, the city felt different again. The shadows weren't just shadows anymore. They were mine. Part 1 ends here, not with victory, not with peace, but with a vow. My old life was gone. My career, my fans, my belts, they'd been stolen. But what they didn't know was this. They had created something worse than a fighter. They had created a man with nothing left to lose. And that kind of man is the most dangerous enemy of all. The guards rushed me like a wave. 10 men, maybe more. They thought numbers would save them. They were wrong. I fought like a man with nothing left to lose. Elbows split jaws, my fists cracked ribs like dry wood. A bottle smashed across my shoulder, didn't slow me down. I slammed a man's head into the marble bar, dropped another with a kick to the knee so loud the whole room heard the snap. Screams filled the penthouse. Guests scrambled for the exit, high heels clattering, champagne mixing with blood on the floor. And then it was just me and Kane. He stood frozen by the bar, one hand still holding his glass of whiskey, like he could pretend none of this touched him. His eyes met mine, cold, calculating, but for the first time I saw fear under the surface. "You made a mistake," he said, his voice low, dangerous. "No," I growled, stepping closer. "You did." He tried to move fast, smashing the glass and slashing at me with the jagged edge. But I was faster. I caught his wrist, twisted it until the glass fell with a shatter. Then I buried my fist into his gut, the air rushing out of him like a punctured tire. Kane collapsed against the bar, coughing, eyes wide. "You think killing me will fix your life?" he spat. I grabbed him by the collar, slammed him onto the floor. "No. But it will end yours." I raised my fist, every muscle in my body screaming for release, for revenge. Months of humiliation, betrayal, rage, all boiling down to this one punch. But then, I hesitated. Because in that moment I saw something. Not Kane. Not the devil in front of me. I saw myself, 5 years from now, 10 years. Another broken man, drowning in blood and revenge. Just another monster in the city's endless cycle. And I realized, if I killed him he'd win. Because he would have turned me into what he already was. Kane laughed when he saw me freeze. "You can't do it, can you? You're weak. Always were." I leaned down, my voice cold enough to freeze the air. "No. I'm stronger. Stronger than you'll ever be." Instead of breaking his skull, I pulled out my phone. I pressed play. His face went pale. Because what he heard was his own voice, recorded at the party minutes before I crashed it. His deals with politicians, his bragging about fixing my fight, his confession about spiking my water. I'd left Victor with the recording device. While Kane thought I was charging head-on, I was already one step ahead. "This," I whispered, holding the phone inches from his face, "is the punch that finishes you." The police stormed the building minutes later. Guests spilled their stories, Victor handed over the recording. Kane's empire crumbled in real time. They dragged him out in cuffs, cursing, thrashing, swearing he'd come back. But his power was gone. His shield of silence shattered. And me? I walked out of the Silver Crown Tower into the night air, bruised, bloody, but free. Reporters screamed my name. Cameras flashed. Some still called me a cheater, others a vigilante. I didn't care. Because I knew the truth. And now the world knew it too. Weeks later, I stood alone in an empty gym. The bag swayed before me, silent, waiting. I wrapped my hands slowly, methodically, and for the first time in months, I felt calm. I threw a punch. Then another. Not for rage, not for revenge, just for me. Because I had survived. Because I had fought back. Because I had won. And somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning.